All right, so in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what my daily schedule looks like to make over $40,000 per month in my early 20s. As you can see on the screen here, I'm going to break down exactly what it looked like when I was an appointment setter, which is where I started my entire journey in high-ticket sales. Exactly what I did hour by hour every single day to make between $4,000 to $8,000 a month as an appointment setter. Then, when I became a closer, I was making between $8,000 up to $20,000 a month as a closer. I walk you through how that looked like hour by hour. And then right now, when I'm a sales manager, where I manage and I run different sales teams in the high-tech sales space, what my days actually look like hour by hour. So this is going to be very detailed, very in-depth. So lock in and let's dive into it. Number one, as an appointment setter, okay? If you know anything about appointment setting, what you do is you basically, it's like the most entry-level position in high-tech sales, where you're calling people that have shown interest for buying like a course or a mentorship from the influencer that you're working for. So let's say, as an example, all of you guys are going to know who Iman Gads is, TGR Breast Scales, okay? They make YouTube videos, they make Instagram posts, TikToks, and then they have this link in their bio. People can reach out to them and get more information, put in their phone number, their email to get contacted and learn about joining their program to learn trading or to learn dropshipping or to learn freelance brand scaling, whatever the offer that they're selling is. The appointment setter is the person calling these people when they actually opt in. So as an appointment setter, what you do is you get a list of leads, so like phone numbers, names, and things that come in. And your job is just to call these people as quickly as possible, obviously, and have a conversation with them over the phone for like 10 to 15 minutes, qualify them, see if you actually genuinely help them, if they have money to invest, etc. And then you book them in for the closer. So obviously, like given that as a setter, what you do, your main task is like calling people that have shown interest, that are qualified, that are actually warm and interested, and then booking the right people onto the calendar. So what does a day as a setter actually look like? Is you wake up in the morning, and the first thing I just start off, obviously it's not going to be like an actual clock where it's like 12, 3, 6, and 9. It's going to be, I'll just make it how my day actually goes. And this will be the start of my day, and this will be like the end of my day, something like that. So it's not going to be like super professional, but I just show you guys so you get an idea of what my days actually look like. So the first thing I do when I wake up at, when I was setting full time, I usually wake up between 7 to, oh shit, it's gonna look ugly as shit. Let me redo that. It's gonna be between 7 to 8 a.m. typically when I woke up. I never really had an alarm. I just noticed I always perform better without having an alarm throughout this entire journey of being a setter, closer, and manager. So I wake up at 7 to 8 a.m. typically when I was setter full time, and I would wake up, and the first thing that I would do would be is going outside, getting some sun back into my eyes. I'm pretty big into like the health stuff, so getting sun into my eyes, ideally grounding as well, and then I would step right into meditation. So that's my morning routine that I would do. Always first thing in the morning, I just notice like I perform so much better in sales when I have a solid morning routine. So the first hours, or the first hour, I would say, until 9 a.m., 9 right here. The first hour is basically just the morning routine right here. So what's that going to look like is you wake up, or I wake up, I go out for a walk, and I meditate, and I read through my beginning of day document, where I basically have the prompts, like how I want to show up in my calls. I have that written down. Okay, what should my tonality be like? What should my energy be like? I have this entire document where I've written out all the coaching, the feedback I've gotten from my own mentors, put it in one document, and I read through it every single day to remind myself and get myself in the right state before I jump into my calls. Then at 9, it's going to be team meeting, where the company that I work for, the influencer that I've been working for, when I was an appointment setter, I would have the call with him, the entire sales team. We go through some training and we get prepared for the day, basically. So it's usually an hour-long call. We go for training, they review our calls, give us feedback, and then after that, you dive into your sales day. What the sales day actually looks like, it's usually between 9 to, I would typically work from 9 a.m. in the morning until 3 to 4 p.m. So let's just put it, and it's not going to be like proportional at all with like the time slots, etc. But you guys get the point. We don't need to keep this super professional. Okay, so 4 p.m. is this time will usually just be mainly me working. So what I do here is after the meeting, I get these leads that I start looking at the leads list, and I start calling through people that have shown interest. And I take these calls, 10 to 15 minutes, people pick up, run through the conversation. And if you want to see a live call, what this actually sounds like, I have multiple videos on my channel and also in my free course where I show how a live setter call actually sounds like. So you can watch that below this video if you want to look at that after this. But I basically have these conversations multiple times here. I dial through the list of people that have shown interest. I do some follow-ups as well, people I talked to previously that I need to book in, etc. And then I'm going to take a lunch break LB, somewhere around here. I just take like a lunch break midday, and usually go out for a walk. I usually take like some small breaks throughout here, but this is basically just the. I just put dial. Oh, holy shit, dude! I'm. There we go. Dial time. That's what we're gonna put here. Dial time is pretty much this time right here, and then until 4. And then the thing is, during this time, like, you're very flexible. As I said, you decide literally when you work. So it's not like I'm sitting here and like dialing for like, what's this, like 8 hours, something like that, straight. Not at all. I call usually for like blocks. I took 1 hour. I was just like calling, and I was just calling, taking conversations, and then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go out for a walk. I'm gonna have some food. I'm gonna talk to a friend, or just do something else, because throughout this I was always traveling, and like when I'm still traveling while doing high-tech sales. So that's the freedom that you have, right? So I would just, for example, when I was in Costa Rica, I would just be taking some calls, and I would like head on my bike, go down to the beach, go for a quick walk, head back, take calls. So you have all this flexibility throughout there. But more or less during this time, I would just actively be doing these calls. There's not like these set hours you need to work like exactly every single hour, 9 to 4. These roles, at the end of the day, are performance based. You get paid based off your performance, not based off like the minutes that you're on the phone or the hours that you're working. So typically 9 to 4, I'm on the phone with breaks in between, with having some lunch and things like that. Typically around 4 is when people pick up the most, like the highest pickup rate when you're calling. So it's gonna be a good hour to be calling. After this, I usually hit a workout right there. And I had a workout, and I go to the gym, train, or I'll go out for a run and things like that. And then after my workout, I'll come back. I'll have a bit more like energy, so I'll usually like wrap up my day. So I'll do some follow up after that. So following up with people I've talked to previously. I'll also do some training. So I just put T here, tea time. It's basically what I do. I review my calls from the day. I say, okay, what did I do well today on my calls? What could I have done better? I usually have my mentor as well, if I have a mentor call booked in with my one-on-one mentor, I will, or back then I would have one-on-one calls booked in pretty much every single day. So I would talk to them and get feedback from them on my calls, and like on my mindset, etc. I get coaching and things like that. Or I would just like review my own calls if I didn't have. So basically, it's some type of sales training. Could be listening to a podcast, could be showing up to a one-on-one call with my mentor, asking questions, showing up to a group call with my mentor that I had back in the day, or it could just be reviewing my own stuff. So it's some type of training to improve my sales skills. The goal here is just making myself 1% better every single day. This is how I grew quickly from setter to closer to managers, because I always had time allocated towards skill set development. After this, it's dinner time. Okay, so after this, I would usually either head out for dinners with like friends, or just at home. I typically, if you know anything about me and you see my previous videos, I eat a raw meat diet. So I only eat raw meat, raw eggs, raw like beef and things like that. So I would always go out and like either have like some steak tartare in a restaurant, oysters, sashimi and things like that, or most of the time I just like cook up stuff at home, or not cook up, but just prepare food basically. And I'll have like half a kilo of raw meat for lunch, half a kilo of raw meat for dinner. And that's pretty much my schedule. And then after that, I would usually, depending on like where I'm at in the world, because like I said before, I travel pretty much all the time while doing this. That's the freedom that you have. I would either go and explore a bit with some friends, meet up, and like go to some fun, like chill rooftop, and like just hang out, go and explore the town. I've done a lot of like random stuff like in the evenings, because usually from like 7 p.m. until like 11 midnight, I'll just kind of fuck off, and just like do whatever. So I'll put FOT. This time you just do whatever you want, literally. And yeah, that's kind of what my day as a setter looks like. So as I said, during this, like as a setter, you typically, like I would say average as a setter, you make between 4 to 8K a month. And that's roughly what I made. My first month ever, I made 4K, second month 6K, and then I scale up to my first 10K a month after that. So that's really what it looks like as an appointment setter. And now I'll get into in a second of closing management, which is, it looks very different. So you'll see that in a second. When I get into closing, it, like everything changes up a lot in terms of how my days actually look like. But this is what it looks like as a setter. Honestly, this is probably the most freedom that I ever had in high ticket sales. A lot of people think that, setting is a shit role. You can only make 2K a month and just a cold caller. Then they like, you call warm leads, have shown interest. You're never cold calling. You have the most flexibility out of all these different roles. You truly decide when you work, and you don't have all this responsibility of managing other people like a sales manager has. And you can make, like, I know sellers to make 12, 15, 20K a month. You can make really good money as a seller if you're on the right offer as well. So that's my schedule as a seller. And yeah, that's what it looks like. Actively working, I was probably working between 6 to maybe like tops, like 8 hours per day, or like actively working. And like I said, a lot of breaks, doing other stuff, and things like that. Exploring a lot. Now, let's move into closing. Okay, so a lot of stuff is going to be similar here. Like the morning routine, I will start same time. 7 to 8 a.m. is usually when I wake up without an alarm. So we don't need to like rewrite that out. I'll just put that those same things here. 7 to 8 a.m. is wake up time. Same thing as here. Then I would do my morning routine. It's very, very important as a closer. The biggest difference, people ask me what's the difference between being a seller and being a closer, is a closer is a leader. Like showing up as a closer on a sales call, what are you doing? You're helping someone make an uncomfortable decision to sometimes invest for the first time ever into themselves to actually achieve their goals. Whether you're selling like towards consumers, or selling to businesses, it's always about helping and leading people through making a good decision to grow their business, or to lead their 9 to 5, or to improve their health, whatever your offer you're selling is. So knowing that to be true as a closer, you need to have your life very dialed in. That's something that the biggest thing I noticed, that when I hit my first 10K, 15, 20K a month as a closer, it always just came back to me dialing in myself and how I make decisions and what my routine looks like, and really treating myself as a high performer. That's the biggest advice I can give you to become a good closer. If you can treat yourself to like as a high performer would, have dialed in sleep, have a really good mindset, act in alignment with your highest self, that's the stuff that's going to get you to the highest level in closing. So that's really what my routine was focused on. I would wake up 7, 8 a.m. I would do my morning routine. I would meditate, go for my pre-call or my beginning of day document, where I have everything written down, like all the prompts and how to think, how to lead people, how I was going to show up throughout the day, who I was, my identity document, who Alex 2.0, who's already making. So when I was new into closing, my first goal was obviously making 10K a month. And I written down, okay, well, how does 10K a month Alex think? What do they feel? How do they act, etc.? And I looked at that every single morning. So that was my morning routine. So obviously I adapted the morning routine to closing. It wasn't the exact same as when I was a setter, but the schedule looked the same in the beginning of the day. Then I had a team meeting, same thing there at 9 a.m. typically. Then after that, I didn't start dialing, because as a closer, you open up your calendar for a couple hours. Usually I would have 5 slots open, so 5 hours opening my calendar, where people book in. So the setter books in calls for my calendar. Qualified people that already warm, already want to buy. And I just hopped on those calls. Usually show up rate is never 100%. So usually I would have around 4 live calls per day. So I would have 5 slots open and 4 people actually show up. So that's really what it looks like here. Is from this time, 9 a.m., I would typically have 5 slots open. So I would end my day usually at around, I would typically end my day around 4. Oh, shit. 4. Let's put it right here. And during this time, I would usually have like 3 slots back to back open, 1 break, and then 2 more slots. Sometimes I would like add in a bit of like follow-ups towards the end of my day, or during that block, where people that I talked to that didn't close, whatever, I would follow up with them. But that's usually what my day will look like. So I just have my calendar open right here. So if you can imagine, like, you have my Google Calendar, this is usually how it looks like. You open up your Google Calendar, you decide, okay, today I want to work these hours. Some days, okay, I was going to travel. I wanted to, let's say, some days I was like, okay, I want to have what's it called? I want to have like a break in the morning. So I'm going to block out my calendar from like 9 a.m. until 12 and start taking calls later in the evening, So like I said before, it's like, do not set in terms of the hours you're working. Obviously, when you're on a call, you have to show up and perform. And that's really what it looks like. It's like, you're not set. You don't have to work 9 to 5 hours every single day. You don't have to like be set in a schedule. You have to perform. That's what they care about. So if you take 2 calls per day, but you show up and you perform them, I've had weeks where like it should take 2 live calls or 3 live calls per day, and I close at such a high rate, so I don't need to take more calls. So it's all about performance. That's the beauty of high ticket sales. Like, you get paid off based on how good you are, and when you get really good, you can close at like 60-70% of the people that you talk to, which allows you to obviously work less and make more money while doing so. So that's really about what my schedule looks like here. Is I had a team meeting. We started taking calls here. I would take around 4 to 5 live calls throughout the day. 4 p.m., same thing here. I would start getting a bit kind of tired and I want to get to the gym, hit a workout. So right here, I would hit a workout, go to the gym and get a good session in, or I would go for a run at that point. And then after the workout, pretty similar, follow up after we're done working out. I'm gonna put that here. This looks so freaking ugly, but I hope you guys get the point anyway. So you get the value, even though it looks like a kid's drawing. So that's really what I would do here. I would do follow up after the gym, come back from the gym, have some new energy, do some follow ups, and then after that, I would hop into training. So like 5 p.m. After the gym, I would train. Basically, go through my calls from the day, get feedback from my mentor. It's pretty simple stuff, right? You see, like that's similar as what I was doing here. It's just the work looks a bit different. And again, closing, you make more money. And during this time, I was making like in the beginning, I was making like 8 to 12K per month, and I scaled it up to 20K per month in my top months as a closer. And I was working during that time, like my top months, I was working for like 6 to 8 hours per day, plus like the team meeting. So like I never really worked more than 8 hours per day. That's usually what it looked like. So team meeting 1 hour, and then sales meetings booked, usually 45 minutes long each throughout the day. And then in the afternoon, same thing, FOT, so fuck off time, where I would just go and do fun shit and just like enjoy my life overall. And this is going to be the biggest difference you will see between setting and closing and then management, is that in this role, you have way more responsibility. It's flexible work. You make way more money, but there's like FOT where you can just like fuck off after work. You don't really have that as much as a manager, because you have responsibility of leading an entire team and managing the closers and the setters, which is what I'm doing right now. So I get into that in a second of what that looks like. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how that differs to this, because it's very different. But this was my schedule as a full-time closer here. And I add this in there, the FOT, where I would just do fun shit. And one of the biggest things that you'll notice as well when you get into high ticket sales is, as a setter and as a closer, your performance is a lot of times dependent on how much like fun you have overall. When I have more fun, I just like do fun shit, and I travel and I enjoy experiences and I spend money more freely, etc. I've had my biggest months while doing that. For example, when I once went to Costa Rica, because I had my base in Medellin, Colombia for a long time. I lived out there. I was going for the reps, making like 10, 12K per month, and then I booked a trip to Costa Rica. And that month when I went to Costa Rica, I had my biggest month ever. I literally I crushed it. I had like insane amount of just conviction in my calls, and closing rate went up, made a lot more money because I changed up my environment. So that's obviously like with high ticket sales, like you have to show up and perform, and you don't have like a ton of time freedom. You're not going to be sitting and like taking 1 call per day, making 100K a month. Obviously not. But what you really do have is that location freedom, which I love about this. You can really travel wherever you want and have that freedom. And especially when you build up the skills, that you have the time freedom to a certain extent as well. We can decide a lot your hours, and you don't have to work that much to make 10, 20, 30K a month as well. So that's really the closing schedule, what it looked like for me. And then, like I said, in the evening, you would go through your calls, look at, okay, what can I do doing better here? I was asking my coach for feedback, looking what I can improve, and then working a bit on role playing, something I did a lot here. I would role play before I would fuck off. I would usually do RPs here, so role plays with people, and just train, like practice objections and things like that to get better and at handling it. Then now the exciting one where I'm at right now. This might not be too relatable for a lot of you guys watching this, because you're probably at like the beginning stages of looking to get into setting or potentially closing right now. But just so you know what the journey looks like, because in high ticket sales you can grow a lot. You can grow like massively. Now it's time to get into the exciting stuff of what my day actually looks like as a manager, where I now make over $40,000 per month. And it looks very, very different from these previous stages, because at the end of the day, as a manager, you're the person running the entire sales team, making sure that the setter performs, that the closer performs, that the business is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And like you have way more responsibility in that role. And as a result of having more responsibility, you also have more leverage, because you're not the one who's actually on the calls yourself. You're not actively taking sales calls, at least not all the sales calls. And that's why you can make more money, but also you have a bit more freedom, but responsibility, and that comes with stress and things that to manage, and also obviously like make sure that the team is performing. So what to actually do at this point right now, morning routine and like wake up time is typically the same. I actually wake up a bit earlier nowadays, because I have more stuff to get done, but usually around the same time, maybe like 6:30 to 7:30 instead of 7 to 8 a.m. So a bit earlier. Still same thing without an alarm. And then what I do after that, I do so let me put this here. So I'll put 6:30 until 7. Beautiful. No, that's not beautiful. Holy shit, dude. This looks incredible. Then I get into my morning routine, which is, again, it's pretty similar stuff. The difference is like what I actually do during this time. So the morning routine as a manager is mostly about looking over like, okay, number one is like, who do I need to be? How do I need to show up to lead this team? It's like kind of the same thing when I mentioned as a close, like you need to be internally the person who can lead other people on your sales calls. As a manager, is even more of that. Like you're going to lead other people who's then going to show up to their calls and lead other people. I need to go through like, who do I need to be? How do I need to show up when I'm training my team to get them motivated for the day and get them to actually be in the right mind space to perform. A lot about this stuff is mindset. And one of the biggest things that's changed for me throughout the journey is shifting my identity, going from the setter identity to closer into a manager. It's all about shifting identity. And that's really like how this entire journey looks like. Even going from like a 9 to 5 or school or like where I was at before with failing different businesses into being a setter, I just shift my identity and step into being a leader and being someone who's going to lead people through these difficult decisions, etc. That's how this entire journey really looks like. And it's a big takeaway for you watching this as well. Now, as a manager, what my day actually looks like is I do the morning routine here. That's typically in like 1 hour, let's say. And after that, I'll get into the morning meeting. So the team meeting right here. Team meeting is same thing as before, usually at 9 a.m. And obviously nowadays I manage a couple of different teams. So I have a couple of different team meetings as well. Team meetings, I lead. So we run through everything and I prepare the sales teams for the day. We go for training and everything that I used to do with other sales managers, I now do for these different teams that I manage. After that, my day mostly consists of basically coaching the reps. So having either one-on-one calls where we deep dive into like their mindset, how their journey is going, what they need to be working on, their skill set, and basically making sure they're actually performing on the level that they should be performing. Diving into like their habits, their routines, are they sleeping properly, and things like that, just to make sure they're performing. And mix of that and also call reviews. So watching their calls, giving them feedback, looking over the numbers for the business. Is there any change we need to make? Is there any like new things we should iterate when it comes to how the sales team is being run? Really is like everything that needs to happen to make sure that the sales team is performing. That's your duty as a, I guess you can say like a duty or like your purpose as a sales manager is make sure that the sales team is performing at the highest level. So that's what I do here. Usually work between, I would say from like 9 a.m. when the sales meeting is, and I probably end work. I don't really like end work. I work pretty much like throughout the entire day until like 8, 9, sometimes even later than that. But the big caveat is like the work is very flexible. Like you have a couple of calls every single day, like some one-on-ones and some coaching calls and things like that as a sales manager. But at the end of the day, like most of your work is just like looking over the numbers, checking in with the sales reps, doing some call reviews. So it's very flexible work. So we put like the end here, let's say at let's just say on average like 7 p.m. But I want to be clear here, it's like I'm not working like what's this and like 10 hours per day, not at all. I take breaks during this time. I'll go work out, usually here, so usually around the same time, like 3-4 p.m. And I'll have lunch. I'll go and do like some other stuff throughout the day. I'll maybe like just go see friends, go for lunch with some other people, or just do something completely different. A lot of times I record content for like, I usually block out recording content. So like when I have something that I want to shine at one of these YouTube videos, I'll just like sit down and just make 4 or 5 videos like in one day. So I don't have to, so that doesn't take away from my actual sales management because I make money from this stuff, from being a manager. Obviously, I also have my community as well, where I coach people in high ticket sales. So I also do one-on-one calls for that, typically more in the evening here, like after working out. I do the calls with people that I coach inside my community that are either in roles right now as closers or setters and coaching them to get better, make more money, or people that are beginners right now and I coach them to get into their first roles and placement and things like that. So that's part of my schedule, but the most of my time is spent on like the managing process. So that's what it looks like here. And then after, the big difference here is like in the evening, I'm going to look through like all the sales reps. How has their day been? What's the numbers? Are we pacing on the right numbers for the month? Okay, if we're not on the pace for where we want to hit as a team, what do we need to do to catch up, etc. Again, that's my responsibility. Is like the team or the people on the team, the setters and the closers that I manage, they report to me. So I'm the person who's like responsible for responding to them, make sure they have their payment links ready for their calls, and they have like the mindset is dialed in, they're showing up properly. So like that's, I report to the business owner, like the influencer, and the sales reps on the team report to me. So that's really what my day looks like. I talk to them, I review the calls, coach them and things like that, and make sure they're actually performing as well as possible. And then obviously, like at the end of the day, like I said, I go through, okay, how did the day go? If there's anything that I need to check in with the reps on, I do that. A lot of communication back and forth, plan out the next day, plan out the meetings, what are the things we need to be working on the calls, on the one-on-ones, etc. And a lot of just management, basically. Management is pretty boring work overall. You have a lot of flexibility. You make a lot more money by doing it, but it also comes with going through these two different stages. I cannot be a manager right now, managing setters and closers and leading sales teams, if I never did this myself at a very high level. So I got really good at setting, became a really good closer, and that's why I can now be, if I can say myself, a pretty good manager as well with the teams that I do manage. So that's really like what this looks like. And I guess a key thing throughout this has been two different things. Is habits, having habits very dialed in. So sleep, I'm very, very big on sleep, sleeping 8-9 hours every single night and going to sleep at a consistent bedtime. Huge like input that's going to change really everything in my sales journey. I had a big actual jump in closing rate when I just dialed in my sleep. That's a big thing, having sleep in place. And then also diet. I mentioned this before, but I do a fully raw meat diet, and that's helped me massively to just like have insane amount of focus and also get a lot of time back. That's allowed me to show up better in my calls. So if you're someone who's like a bit experimental, you want to like try new shit and you're open to that, definitely can recommend that. Just give me so much mental bandwidth. At the end of the day, being a good setter, closer, and especially a manager, the more bandwidth you have, the more like just focus you can have on your calls, the more money you'll make every single time. So it's been a big thing to just dial in my schedule. And I'm so freaking locked in. When I wake up here in the morning and we do the morning meeting and I get into like call reviews and things like that, I'm so freaking locked in. And then I also forgot to mention here that a big thing that I do as a manager at the end of my day here is basically, it's called deep work. So I usually do this in the morning, but a lot of times if I don't have time here or we have too many meetings and things like that, I'm going to do this in the evening instead. I usually am the most productive, what I've noticed, in the evenings nowadays. It kind of depends on the time zone, etc. But what I'm going to do here is also I'm going to go through and like, okay, do we need to make changes to our scripts, to our sales processes? Do we need to like make any improvements in like maybe the marketing and like the other parts that affects the sales team? I do the deep work as well, where I'm just like sitting in front of my computer and it's like doing kind of like behind the scenes work as well for like a couple hours as well. That's really what my days look like nowadays. And that's how I get to the point where I manage a couple of different sales teams, get a percentage of the teams that I do manage. And that's how I'm able to make that amount of money I'm making right now. We're making over 40K a month by getting a percentage of those teams that I'm running. And hope this makes sense. Hope this gives you some insights. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram. I reply to all DMs over there. And like I said as well, I also have my one-on-one coaching program with where I basically train people up from usually a 9 to 5 or from being in school, university, or being in a traditional sales job and helping them get into this industry, where I teach them the skill set of appointment setting and closing. And then I go out in my network and I connect them directly with roles, either from my own teams or for other teams that I've obviously built out a big network in this industry. So I have a lot of offers, connect them with those offers and help them make the first 5-10K a month while I'm doing that. So if you're interested in getting my help to get into this and you're serious, someone is actually willing to put in the effort and actually work hard to get these type of results, then you can apply for that down below this video by booking a call with me directly and seeing if I can actually help you out. And I hope this gives some insights on what my day actually looks like of doing high-ticket sales. It's not waking up and just doom scrolling all day. That's probably one of the worst things you can do if you want to succeed in this industry. This is what my schedule actually looks like. This is how I'm locked in, how I make the type of money I'm making right now. And this is what I'm doing to scale up to my goals as well. So hope this makes sense. And I'll see you all tomorrow in the next video. Take care.